Rain lashed against the windshield as Daniel gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles white under the dim glow of the dashboard. The highway stretched endlessly before him, empty and shrouded in mist, the kind that made even the familiar look unfamiliar. He wasn't sure why he was driving that late or what compelled him to take the old forest road he had always avoided, but something about the stormy night felt magnetic, almost like an invisible hand guiding him. The wipers screeched across the glass, the radio buzzed into static, and suddenly, through the crackle of white noise, a woman's voice whispered his name. It wasn't the kind of whisper you could mistake for imagination. It was sharp, trembling, and heartbreakingly familiar. Before he could react, a blinding flash of light filled the road, and a truck appeared out of nowhere, charging straight toward him. Instinct made him slam the brakes, but the car spun, metal screamed, and in that moment between life and death, he felt a hand grab his shoulder and pull him back with impossible strength. The next second, silence. When he opened his eyes, the car was parked neatly on the side of the road as if nothing had happened, the truck long gone, and his body untouched. But his heart raced like thunder because he could still feel the imprint of that cold, gentle hand on his shoulder. He stepped out into the rain, looking around, breath fogging in the chilled air, and then he heard it again, the whisper, soft and broken, saying, "I saved you." Daniel froze, every muscle trembling as he turned toward the sound. A faint figure shimmered near the tree line, half transparent, her long hair whipping wildly in the storm, her white dress glimmering faintly against the dark. He couldn't see her face clearly, but he felt the strangest pull, like something inside him recognized her. He stumbled forward, calling out, but she vanished before his eyes, leaving behind only the echo of her voice carried by the wind. Shaken, Daniel drove home with trembling hands, trying to convince himself it was shock, maybe hallucination, but deep inside, a fear and a longing he couldn't explain began to grow. That night, as he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the air in his room turned icy, the curtains fluttered without wind, and his mirror fogged up from within. When he got up to wipe it, he found words traced in condensation, "You promised me forever." Sleep abandoned Daniel for the next several nights. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes of her face, not fully visible, but enough to haunt him. He remembered the curve of her lips, the tear glinting in her eye, and the way her whisper felt more like a plea than a warning. At work, he found himself distracted, unable to focus on anything but the sound of her voice repeating his name over and over in his mind. On the fifth night, his phone rang at 2:13 a.m. The number on the screen was blank. Against all reason, he answered, and a soft voice breathed, "You're still mine." His heart nearly stopped. He shouted into the phone, asking who she was, but the call cut with static and silence. Desperate for answers, Daniel began searching through old photographs, trying to find some memory that matched her face, but there was nothing. Yet deep inside, a sense of déjà vu gnawed at him, as if the memories were just out of reach, buried behind a locked door in his mind. One evening, as thunder rumbled outside, Daniel found himself drawn to the attic of his house, a place he rarely visited. Dust coated everything, and the air smelled of age and loneliness. In the far corner, beneath a torn sheet, he discovered an old chest. Inside were relics, letters, dried roses, a silver ring, and a photograph of him with a woman in a white gown standing by a car. His heart pounded violently as recognition struck. It was her, the same eyes, the same lips, the same sorrow that had been haunting him. The date scribbled on the back froze his blood, exactly 3 years before the night of the crash he couldn't remember. He stared at the photo, trembling, as fragments of memory began to flood back. Laughter under the rain, vows whispered beneath stars, a promise to never let go no matter what happened. Suddenly the lights flickered, the air grew colder, and the scent of roses filled the room. He turned slowly, and there she stood, the woman from his dreams, her gown torn and stained, her presence both terrifying and beautiful. "You left me," she said softly, tears streaking down her pale face. "But I never left you." Daniel's throat tightened, words failing him as he stepped closer, his heart aching with a love he couldn't remember but somehow still felt. Her translucent fingers brushed his cheek, cold as snow, yet the warmth of her emotion burned through him. "I've been saving you," she whispered, "because your soul is mine." Daniel stood frozen in the attic, staring into the sorrowful eyes of Evelyn, the woman he had loved and lost but somehow forgotten. The realization crashed into him like a tidal wave. She wasn't a stranger or a haunting spirit from nowhere. She was his fiancée, the one he had vowed to spend forever with, and the night she died was the night his soul had split in half. Tears welled in his eyes as the memories returned in painful fragments. The drive through the storm, the laughter before tragedy, and her voice screaming his name as metal twisted and glass shattered. He remembered waking up in the hospital, his mind blank, the doctors calling it a miracle, but now he understood that the miracle came with a price. Evelyn stepped closer, her ghostly form flickering like candlelight in the wind, her voice trembling as she said, "You weren't supposed to survive alone. I took your death so you could live, but every time you escape death again, it takes more of me." Daniel's heart shattered hearing her confession. The reason she appeared every time he was in danger wasn't fate, it was love twisted into a curse. She had bound her soul to his the moment she saved him, and now she was trapped between worlds, fading a little more each time she protected him. Desperation filled Daniel's chest as he tried to touch her, but his fingers passed through her like smoke. "I can fix this," he whispered, but she only smiled sadly. "No one cheats death, Daniel. Not even love." Thunder cracked outside, shaking the house, and her form flickered again, weaker now, as if the energy holding her together was collapsing. "Don't try to save me," she pleaded softly, "you've already done enough." But Daniel refused to listen. He searched the old chest again, pulling out a weathered book of vows they had written together before their wedding. The last page read, "If death parts us, I'll find you again." The ink had bled with age, but the promise felt alive. His hands trembled as he looked back at Evelyn, determination burning in his eyes. "Then I'll find a way to keep that promise," he said. The storm outside grew violent, wind howling through broken windows, and Evelyn's glow dimmed almost to nothing. "If you love me," she whispered, "let me go." Her words were tender but filled with pain, and as she began to fade completely, Daniel fell to his knees, screaming her name, the attic filling with a burst of cold light before everything went still. When he opened his eyes again, the photo of them lay on the floor, half burnt, and he realized she was gone, maybe forever. Days turned into nights, and Daniel wandered through his house like a ghost himself, haunted not by fear but by emptiness. The world outside continued, but he felt detached from it, existing somewhere between life and death just as she had. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping, and every clock in the house seemed to tick louder, mocking the time he had stolen from fate. He began to notice strange patterns, mirrors reflecting her face for a split second, her laughter echoing faintly when the wind passed through the curtains, the scent of roses filling the air when he whispered her name. It wasn't over. Deep inside, he knew Evelyn was still there, trapped, waiting for release. One night, while sitting by the window watching lightning crawl across the sky, Daniel made his decision. He wrote a letter addressed to no one but her, the words trembling with love and sorrow. "You gave me life when I should have died, and I've wasted every second without you. If my life is borrowed, then I'm returning it to where it belongs." He placed the ring they once shared beside the letter, stood up, and walked toward the same road where fate had torn them apart. The storm raged again, eerily similar to that night, as if the heavens remembered. Standing in the middle of the empty highway, Daniel closed his eyes and whispered, "I'm coming home, Evelyn." A soft voice answered, "You already are." A car's headlights flashed in the distance, growing brighter, and for a moment he saw her, smiling, arms open, bathed in white light. The sound of screeching tires and thunder merged into silence. When the police found his body the next morning, they reported no signs of struggle, just a peaceful expression and a faint scent of roses around him. But in that same instant, miles away, the mirror in Daniel's house cracked from within, revealing two figures holding hands in the reflection, both smiling, finally free. Evelyn's promise had been fulfilled. Love had transcended death, and two souls once broken had become whole again, bound together in the eternity they had always dreamed of.